As if Capcom's latest installments into the series canon weren't bad enough. Now we're being subjected to Infinite Darkness, a Resident Evil in-between quill set in the years 2000 and 2006, but has more in common with our world's current political climate. You'd think this was the latest entry in the series timeline. A US president who can't think for himself.
The president is going to take a firm stance against China today.
Private drug companies creating pandemics to profit off of vaccines, and US soldiers being left behind in Panamstan, and US and China tensions over occupation of Panamstan.
Why not have everything in place to make sure Americans to get out?
The intelligence community did not say that, in fact, this was going to collapse like it did.
They thought the Taliban would take over, but not this quickly.
But not this quickly, not even close.
Senator McConnell said it was predictable the Taliban was going to take over.
Well, the show's writers certainly predicted it. Anyway, I was pleasantly surprised to find that Netflix wasn't sucking China's dick like all their Hollywood neighbors.
你好，中国，就是叫希腊。我必须说，现在，在速度与激情中。
But then again, they don't need that Chinese box office. And despite the show's attempted divisiveness, it appears to have briefly united the severely fractured Resident Evil fanbase. Just for a moment, we've set aside our differences and bitched together, sharing the same opinion. This show is bad. Like dumb bad. Now, we all have our different reasons for disliking this show. For most fans, spoilers from here on out. For most people, they hated this show because this is the last time Leon and Claire ever see each other and they break up, which, honestly, to me was the best part of the show. At least something happened. We all know Capcom doesn't have the balls or respect to kill off a legacy character. It's been over 20 years of outbreaks, and nothing of consequence has lasted from one game to the next.
When are you gonna stop treating me like a kid?
Probably never.
Anyway, let's get into this completely baffling, convoluted, and unnecessary chapter in the Resident Evil universe. But first, a word from the president.
And by the way, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap.
Mr. President!
So the show opens up in the year 2000 on some people we don't care about in a terrorist country we really don't care about. Yeah, there's a civil war going on, US troops are fleeing the country, and this is exactly what we wanted after waiting years to see this. Let's not catch up on our old friends, Leon and Claire. Instead, just give us mindless, uninspired action with ripped assets from MGS4. All while the most obnoxious action theme plays in the background of all these scenes. I don't know what I got sick of first, this track on repeat in every flashback, or all these shots I took every time someone said Panamstan.
Panamstan, Panamstan, Panamstan,
Panamstan.
Panamstan, Panamstan,
Panamstan.
Panamstan, Panamstan, Panamstan,
Panamstan. 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 Panamstan.
Panamstan. The Panamstan.
Panamstan,
Panamstan. Panamstan. Shut up!
Man, if I have to hear the name Panamstan again, I swear to God.
Did you forget about the Civil War in Panamstan?
So, back to it. These Panamstanis are overthrowing the government when Alpha 2's helicopter goes down, and Jason, just Jason, no rank, no last name, he forces his Mad Dogs unit to disobey direct orders to stand by, and I guess the rest of the team is just cool with receiving dishonorable discharges. Oh, wait, looks like the helicopter pilot had a change of heart. Who's piloting that, Brad Vickers? So, Jason gets them all stranded in Black Hawk downtown, and as it turns out, they were too late to save anyone worth saving. Gee, you think that maybe there was a reason they told you not to engage? They had visuals on everyone dying, they have classified information for a reason. So yeah, turns out Alpha Team 2 was running a classified bioweapons test for Major General Wilson, this series cookie-cutter villain in control of this unspecified virus that seemingly has no rules, making it real convenient for the lazy writers to write whatever they want to happen because they didn't establish any rules for this virus. You want talking tyrants? Done. You want zombies swinging from chandeliers? Done. You want zombies that require life support? Okay. How about corpse burrowing zombie rats?
I think it's the T-virus.
Leon, you of all people should know that was not the T-virus. But worse than the writing is the structure and pacing, thanks to the editing. This show is just flashbacks on top of flashbacks. There's even a flashback that has a flash forward, but then it's still set in the flashback. It was so confusing when and where events were taking place. I actually ripped the show to re-edit the entire thing into a linear story, beginning and end, in chronological order, and guess what? It didn't make things better.
What are you doing here?
I was going over your last transmissions and...
So I'll just cover the entire Panamstan event now. Starts off with the Mad Dog saving half a soldier named June C, a kid who looks like he lost a fight to Obi-Wan. And as this is going on, down on Durka Street, the remains of Alpha 2 reanimate, infecting the entire town, even the Mad Dogs. And just look at their elite training kick in, just spraying and praying that they don't shoot themselves. Afterwards, June C informs them that they'll all turn into zombies, and that they need the inhibitor, an inhibitor that he needs as well. Luckily, he has just enough for everyone. Everyone else, that is. And, for no reason at all, the Mad Dogs unit wait until June C dies to ever even bother reporting his name to HQ, a name drop that would have gotten them assistance sooner, because June C's sister, Shen Mu, is part of their mission support, which makes absolutely no sense. Now, I don't know how they do things over in Japan, but here in America, thanks to Matt Damon's brothers dying in World War II, siblings aren't allowed to serve in the same conflicts at the same time, making this a completely unbelievable scenario that just breaks any immersion one may have had in this fictional cartoon terrorist country overrun by hyperactive zombies. That fucking music. Shen eventually meets up with the Mad Dogs, where she discovers Jun C is now a zombie, a legless zombie, whose phantom limbs fill out this body bag. And I really wanted him to get out of there. I wanted to see him run around on these little nubs, but I guess this is the best we'll get. So, fast forward to 2006, Claire's doing field work for TerraSave in the ruins of Panamstan. She claims she's trying to get some schools and hospitals built, but we all know this is just self-righteous charity for her MySpace page. Also, Claire is as bad as Joe Biden when it comes to not leaving kids alone. This kid, that kid, this baby, Natalia, and he's physically disabled, not retarded.
No, Miss Claire, this child is mute. He cannot speak.
Yeah, and I'm sure Joe loves the mute ones too.
By the way, he gave me permission to touch him.
So Claire looks for any excuse to leave this shithole, and that's when she spots this kid's drawing, causing her to immediately abandon her duties to investigate. And, as with all conspiracies, they go straight to the top. So to save us some time, she busts in the White House demanding answers.
Do you have a moment?
About this little kid's drawing. And this is where she bumps into Leon. Leon, who's been up all night killing zombies in the White House. Yeah, just hours before, there was a bioterror attack, a false flag operation carried out by Major Wilson, making this another unbelievable scenario. The White House would never open its doors to the public just hours after a terror attack, especially when the enemy is still unknown. And before this attack, Major Wilson also staged a hack attack, claiming someone stole information on a secret bioweapons facility located in China. And somehow this leads President Graham to believe the Chinese were behind the attack, so he calls in Leon, Patrick, Jason, and this Chinese girl to investigate the China hack.
This is like when they asked China to investigate the Chinese virus.
Exactly. Maybe she should sit this one out. And if the president was just the least bit racist, he would have uncovered this whole conspiracy before any more lives were lost. Because, spoilers, the Chinese girl is working with the people behind the China hack. But then again, this is President Graham we're talking about. He's not known for making the best decisions. He is the one who sent in a rookie Leon to single-handedly take out the Mexican cartel at the border and save the president's daughter.
He's more than qualified.
Qualified? More like lucky.
And as soon as Leon arrives, everyone in the White House just decides to turn into a zombie for no reason. It's never explained. It wasn't Jason or Shamu, and it definitely wasn't Wilson. We had eyes on them the whole time. So someone else, who we never see, jumps Press Secretary Spacer. And speaking of jumps, look at that.
I think it's the T-virus.
So, they all split up and Leon takes this chance to go full Aurora shooter on this theater. Seriously, Half a jiffy doesn't even go by before he starts capping everyone inside. People who could be, hiding out away from the zombies and gunfire. But luckily, none of his friends and coworkers were killed in the attack. Just these assholes.
Rest in peace, assholes.
Yep, that's one way to look at the innocent victims of a terror attack. But I gotta admit, Leon's no-look underhand backward shot into this asshole was pretty badass. Best part of the movie.
Rest in peace, assholes.
And after the attack, the president with the best ideas sends Leon, Shang-Chi, and Jason in a super secret submarine to go commit acts of terrorism on Chinese soil. They're gonna blow up that bioweapon facility in Shanghai by sneaking under the East Naval Fleet, which makes absolutely no sense. Traveling by sub is probably the slowest form of travel, and they're not planning on using the sub for the attack anyway, so why risk it? If I was Leon, I'd be like, no thanks, I'll take a jet. But the logistics of international travel is not something this series can grasp. Think about how long it takes to travel from Washington, D.C. to Hawaii or any other port on the West Coast just to hop on a slow-ass submarine to slowly travel to China. Now, this slow travel time wouldn't be an issue if the show hadn't already established a time frame for these events to happen. The show pretty much takes place over a weekend. Before the hack, the leaders of Panamstan arrive in the US to meet with the president. And we all saw how poor that country is. No way they can afford to stay longer than necessary. It would take them 90 hours to travel by sub at the fastest submarine speed recorded, and Shanghai is 5,000 miles away any way you slice it. Sorry, got sidetracked. Now that we're caught up on Leon, let's get back to him bumping into Claire. At first, I thought this was a chance encounter, which seemed a little fishy. I was starting to think this show might be clever and that Jason and Wilson were just red herrings. We've seen the war-hungry generals and the Boy Scout turned traitor tropes before, so it got me thinking of other possible suspects behind the hack, the leak, and this drawing that was way too good to come from a kid who couldn't even afford art supplies, let alone ask for them. So who would have the most to gain getting Leon and Claire under one roof? And that's when it hit me. Conspiracy Theory 2.0.
What? No way. Get out of here.
Yep, he's doing everything he can to get Leon to pork his sister. Get that Redfield bloodline going. From planning this detailed zombie drawing in this cripple kid's hands, he probably crushed this kid's voice box just to keep him from narking. Next, I believe he used his BSAA connects to leak this virus in the White House on the day Claire planned on meeting with Spacer, knowing Leon runs security for Graham.
Yeah, this theory checks out. It's the only logical explanation.
And it looks as if things were going in Chris's favor. Claire tried getting Leon out of his suit, but Leon just friend zones her after calling her stupid.
That outfit doesn't suit you.
Look, I gotta go. Stupid.
Excuse me.
Chris overlooked one important detail. Cho Chang is Chinese, and Leon has yellow fever.
At least hit it and quit it, if you're gonna quit it anyway. You know what I mean?
Besides that, Claire's the only person to notice that the White House staff is missing. And she also recognizes Jason, the hero of Panamstan, which is so completely forced. No girl in her 20s is gonna know the names of any living soldiers who were awarded medals, especially if there wasn't a movie made about them. Also, disobeying orders, getting stranded, and walking your ass back to base empty-handed isn't very heroic. But then again, I guess this guy was considered a hero, so what do I know? So, Claire just abandons this kid's drawing lead and starts investigating the Mad Dogs unit, which, if she already knew about Jason, why wasn't she already investigating him? And I love the site she visits. I don't think I can say that on YouTube, so just read it for yourself. I'm sure his family really appreciated that and used the same wording in his obituary.
Huh.
But he wasn't the only one. Claire discovers that every soldier from the Mad Dogs unit has unalived themselves with shotguns. All but one. And I know what you're thinking. This guy could be the White House leaker. But we discover this guy's been dead for days before the Panamstanis arrived in the US, setting Jason's flashback to just before the hack. And if only Leon was a better detective, he straight witnesses Jason injecting himself with the inhibitor and decides to just go ask Chung Lee out.
You wanna get dinner when this is all over?
Sure. But full disclosure, I have a young man waiting for me.
Who we find out later is June C., her brother.
Now why can't Chris and Claire be more like that? Then the Redfield bloodline would really be strong.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly, T. Maybe one day Capcom will give in and give the fans what they really want. Now, on the submarine, while Leon's stuck listening to Jason talk about his feelings, Shen Mei murders everyone on board, with slit throats and rats. And no idea where these rats came from. I know it was Wilson's plan all along to lose this sub and make it look like a China attack, so he could have had some time release mechanism on board for these infected rodents. But then, how did they manage to smuggle this cargo on board? And releasing these rats could kill his pet soldier, who he must have wanted to remain alive since he left them with an escape sub. So, releasing these rats on top of murdering everyone makes absolutely no sense. If everyone just died on board, the sub would just be dead in the water and not look like a Chinese attack. And having the sub blow up with these rats would probably cause the worst ecological disaster the ocean's ever seen. The fish are going to be eating the infected semen and rats. I did, however, like the look of these rats, but I do prefer the rat from the 4D Executor movie. So Leon takes on these rats without a pistol because...
Hey, we're in a pressurized tube underwater, remember?
A lesson that clearly doesn't stick with him. And, like the Gary Stu he's on his way to become, he somehow knows the ins and outs of this super secret submarine, puncturing the water main and electrifying every rat on board.
He's more than qualified.
And after this, Fong Ling and Jason just let Leon join the club because...
You'll kill us all.
Back at home, Nancy Drews discovered the remains of the remaining Mad Dog, who had just been put down by, you guessed it, blowing head off with shotgun. And just like the master sleuth that she is, she not only finds the virus inhibitors, but also a full-blown confession hidden behind a picture frame, which I can't really complain about. This is in the Resident Evil universe, something we've all done in every game. It's just commonplace here. In fact, this is probably the most Resident Evil related thing to happen out of all the movies. So once again, she kicks in the doors to the White House, this time harassing Major Wilson, who never even looks at her or gets her name, but somehow tracks her down to kidnap her. And way to announce your surprise attack, Claire. Back in China, Leon just goes along with these traitors back to their safe house, and they know it's safe because they use the old piece of tape on top of the door frame trick to tell if anyone's been in and out.
Secure.
Genius. And they waited until now to have any sort of conversation. What'd they talk about in the mini-sub, or at breakfast, or in the rickshaw over here? But I guess Jason's finally ready to talk about it, and he reveals their plans to expose the US as the ones responsible for covering up the bioterror in Panamstan that no one's ever even heard of. And you'd think Leon, a survivor of Raccoon City, a victim of fake news and lies, would be on board with revealing the truth, but nope, he's all like,
treason. Fun. I'll be sure to put that in my report.
Which he seemed completely cool with just a minute ago, letting them murder an entire sub of US soldiers, but leaking information, oh no, that's too far.
I'm not a rat.
And Leon couldn't be any more stiff in his delivery here.
You want my help? You just killed a sub full of people.
It's funny, the least stiff characters in this show are the stiffs. So he just kills Jason. Not with a headshot though, he's tired of those, and this causes Ming Ming to run off, which Leon just casually follows her on foot. Like, did she want him to follow? Some secret agent she is, which I guess I shouldn't be surprised. She was, after all, satisfied with this tape on the door technique. So she leads him to Master Yuen, her grandfather, who's looking after June C.
If he's a zombie, then why is he on life support?
Right? And why is he retarded while Jason, spoilers, turns into Professor Tyrant?
Who?
You know, if like Professor Hulk and Groot fucked and had a baby, a sapling, it would be Jason. And it really helps to not clarify anything about your made-up virus, so you can write whatever narrative you want.
2 masks is better than 1 mask.
So they explain to Leon that they've been trying to find a cure for the last 6 years. Now, I'm no scientist, but I'm sure it would help to at least identify what the fuck it is first, before they look for a cure. Also, they never even bother to look for his bioweapon ID chip that Wilson had implanted in him. A chip implanted in all his enhanced soldiers. It contains information on the manufacturer, but whatevs. And if it's so easy to just walk into Wilson's lab and everyone knows where it is, why is it so hard for them to figure out its tricell behind everything? They slap their logo around just as much as Umbrella. Anyway, thanks to the magic unknown virus, Jason survived and he shows up to destroy whatever evidence he was hoping to use to expose the US. Great plan there. Also, how did he do this much damage? All they had back at the safe house was a couple of burnt cigarettes and a piece of door tape. And after seeing the death of her family and the destruction of her home, Mushu is still, just as stiff as a board, emotionless, just standing around having a conversation on top of the charred remains of her loved ones.
Look around you.
And back in the US, moments before Jason teleports there, we see Wilson has Claire tied up. Not to this chair or anything, she's just acting like she can't move. And this is all Claire is good for in this series now. Babysitting and bondage.
Man, we've all seen this before. At least take it to the next level and give her a spanking.
Or put a gag in her mouth. And Wilson, like the poorly written villain he is, explains everything to Claire because Leon and Shen Mei's international flight is taking longer than expected. They must have lost their passports in the submarine. And at no point during their travels did they ever feel like alerting Washington. Also, if Wilson really wanted a war with China, why not just alert China to the American spies blowing up Shanghai? I guess Leon did call up Patrick, but there's no reason Patrick can be trusted. He could be in on it with Wilson. But Leon's just lucky, I guess, and Patrick informs the president that China is innocent, and the president just takes his word for it. And without reason or explanation, Jason just feels like turning into Professor Tyrant now. Great timing. And in an attempt to make this feel even more uninspired, we see they've recycled the biohazard purging system from Degeneration.
Rogue bioweapon detected. Sterilization sequence activated.
I will say, I was pleasantly surprised to see Shen Mei die in cold-blooded murder. I mean, we all knew she was going to die because she'd get in the way of Leon and Ada, or worse, the Redfield bloodline. But I didn't expect it to be like this, from her friend of 6 years. Seriously, what's this guy's deal? He's just a moron who's failed at every step of the way. First, he failed as a leader, he failed his teammates, he failed to kill Leon with rats, failed to team up with Leon, failed to kill Leon in the mansion, failed to obtain the BOW chip, failed to destroy the chip, and failed to expose the truth by walking into the one place that would automatically kill him for walking into it. Yeah, the second this system recognizes a biohazard, the facility immediately starts killing people. God forbid anyone shit their pants at this place.
What must be what?
Yeah, and I looked it up. Poo-poo is considered a biohazard. So, Wilson flees the scene, and in classic Resident Evil fashion, Leon just magically stumbles onto a rocket launcher, and with help from Claire, they kill Jason, China wins, Claire and Leon break up, and to keep his infection in check, Wilson is now a slave to Tricell. But he's gotta be unemployed now, so I don't know what they want with him. He's not exactly the best strategist. And in the end, nothing gained, nothing lost. I think the only real character in this story to have any sort of arc was Patrick. He came into the show talking shit about Leon and how it was just luck that got Leon where he is today. But by the end, his experiences have changed him, and he tells Leon,
I don't know how you survived a sub blowing up and whatever happened downstairs. But holy shit, man. Some hero level stuff.
Nah, I was just lucky.
Oh, come on. You saved everyone's lives here.
And that's it. Leon and Claire break up because Leon's a tool of the government and a simp for Ada, which is the best thing to happen since they killed off Brad. It's time to start taking some risks and wrap things up. Speaking of risks, I was shocked to see so much anti-China sentiment in this film. You can pause the screen to read President Graham's speech talking mad shit about China. Like, does Netflix even know about this?
The Chinese are not going to be happy.
But everything else in this perfectly checks off the Hollywood boxes. Strong women, diversity, bad white people, and the destruction of the family unit. Yeah, President Graham is no longer married. Speaking of graham crackers, I wanted to see Ashley, but all we get is this photo, and by the looks of it, she's had some ballistic reduction surgery.
What a shame. Hope Leon clocked in that overtime.
Anyway, my overall feelings about this movie, this isn't a show or a series. It's a 90-minute cartoon that was stretched and recycled into a series. This movie isn't worth the 1 month of Netflix or the copyright strike my channel got for reviewing it. And it claims to be 4K, UHD, but it only looks good at certain parts, while other parts look like reused assets from 2009's Degeneration. And the lack of acting, motion, and facial capture make this hilariously bad at other points. Overall, this was a major letdown. I wanted White House down with zombies, not Black Hawk down Periscope. I wanted Leon and Claire, not Claire on the sidelines with nothing to do. I isolated all her scenes, and she only has a total of 18 minutes screen time, and almost all of those shots do not show her booty. You know when a little kid wants to play a video game you're playing, so you just hand them the disconnected controller? That's exactly what they did to Claire here. She thinks she's contributing to the story, but she's really just been pushed to the sidelines, having no impact on the story. And if that stupid kid hadn't drawn that picture, Leon and Claire would still be friends. So I guess the moral of the story is, avoid cripple people. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you hated this movie as well, or loved it, please leave a comment and subscriber. Also, special thanks to Kyle, Kiera, Marco, Julia, and E13 for supporting the channel. And if you'd like to support this channel, check out my Patreon page to become a member of the R-Etards. You'll get exclusive videos, shoutouts, and early access. Also, check out my channel on Twitch. I've recently changed my username to Dead by Donovan to be more family friendly. Every weekend I'll be streaming some classic RE or playing Resident Evil board games. Check it out. Thanks. Bye.